You wake up, stretch, maybe groan a little, and without a second thought, you assume you're still you. Same body, same memories, same life. The continuity of self feels as solid as the floor under your feet. But here's the trick. That sense of sameness is not proof. It's a narrative your brain writes every morning like a lazy novelist reusing yesterday's draft. Continuity is the biggest magic trick consciousness ever pulled. See, your brain is a world-class editor. It hates gaps, loose ends, discontinuities, and every time you wake up, there's a gaping hole in your timeline. 7 or 8 hours of blackout, a micro-death, a temporary deletion of you. If the brain were honest, you'd wake up in panic. Where was I? Who am I? What just happened? But it doesn't let you. Instead, it spackles over the gap with the illusion of seamlessness, and you buy it. Every morning, you get stitched into a story you didn't actually live straight through. A clever patch job, a trick. Think about dreams. In dreams, the most absurd things happen. Time bends, places morph, identities swap, and you accept it without question. The brain doesn't care about consistency, it cares about cohesion. And it applies the same strategy when you wake up. The past you and the present you are not identical copies. But the brain shrugs, slaps duct tape over the cracks and goes, "Yeah, same person, don't worry about it. You never notice the fraud." Continuity is comfortable. It keeps the panic at bay. If you truly felt the break between yesterday's self and today's, you'd live in existential freefall. You'd wake every morning as a stranger in your own body, disoriented, terrified. Instead, you wake up groggy and grumpy, but fundamentally stable. The illusion is merciful. It's a survival mechanism, because let's face it, you couldn't function if you woke up every day thinking, "Who am I really?" You'd be stuck in the bathroom mirror for hours. But under that illusion lies something uncomfortable. You are not the same person you were when you went to bed. Your neural wiring has changed, your memories have been reshelved, your hormones have shifted. Tiny fragments of identity have died and new ones have been born. You woke up different, but the story engine in your skull insists otherwise, and you never question it until now. Consider how memory itself works. We like to imagine memory as a hard drive, stable, permanent, reliable. It's not. Memory is like a Word document that gets rewritten every time you open it. Each recall is a revision, a distortion. You remember the memory of the memory. So when you wake up, the you who remembers yesterday is not the same you who lived it. Continuity is not carried by truth, it's carried by narrative momentum. This illusion runs deep. Look at photographs of yourself from 10 years ago. That's technically you, right? But doesn't it feel like looking at a stranger? You recognize the continuity in face, name, history. But that version of you had thoughts you can't recall, feelings you don't share, problems that no longer exist. The only reason you accept them as you is because your brain insists on one storyline. Without that insistence, you'd see what's obvious. You've been 100 different people, all pretending to be the same protagonist. So why cling to the illusion? Because identity is fragile. Without the narrative glue, life collapses into chaos. Imagine a book where every page has a new character with the same name but a different mind. You'd stop reading. Continuity is the trick that keeps you turning the pages of your own existence. Here's the cosmic joke, you've already been fooled. The person hearing these words is not the same person who started listening 2 minutes ago. Attention has shifted, chemicals have shifted, tiny neural paths have pruned. Micro shifts so small you can't feel them, but enough that your identity has already drifted. Continuity is the illusion that hides the constant churn, and yet it's beautiful. If you were forced to feel every shift, every micro-death, every tiny rebirth, you'd lose your mind. Instead, the brain gives you the greatest kindness, the sense of being one continuous self. A fake, a lie, but a necessary one. You are a river pretending to be a rock. You flow every night and wake pretending you stayed still. The illusion of continuity is not a bug. It's the only reason you exist at all. Every night, you lie down and close your eyes, imagining sleep as a simple pause button. Lights off, consciousness off, reboot in the morning. Cute idea. But sleep is not a pause. Sleep is a full-scale neural remodel, a nightly demolition derby for your brain. By the time you wake, the structure of your mind has subtly shifted, and you are not the same occupant of this mental mansion you were before. Inside your skull, Billions of synapses are pruning themselves like tiny gardeners on a caffeinated spree. Neural pruning, yes, that's a real thing, is your brain's version of spring cleaning. Connections that were useful yesterday might be tossed into the void tonight. Other pathways are reinforced, strengthened, made more efficient. Some memories are compressed, others slightly warped. Think of it as your brain optimizing for tomorrow without telling you. You wake up with a slightly different map of your own mind, a new wiring diagram you didn't approve. It's not dramatic, mostly. You won't notice the micro changes while brushing your teeth. But if you looked closely, your thoughts, your reactions, your very patterns of thinking are subtly rewired. You are a living patchwork, a work in progress, being edited every night by processes you cannot control. That cheerful sense of I am me is hanging on by threads the brain rewrote while you dreamt. And dreams themselves? They are part of the software update. REM sleep, that chaotic, hyperactive stage, is where neurons fire in patterns that mimic reality, but reality is just a suggestion here. Your brain rehearses, experiments, simulates. Emotional experiences are replayed, exaggerated, integrated, or deleted. Connections are strengthened between events, feelings, and reactions. By morning, your emotional memory is reconfigured. You might wake slightly less anxious, slightly more irritable, or strangely nostalgic for something that never happened. Your waking self is a freshly baked version of you, remixed, slightly improved, slightly altered. Sleep also hits the reset button on your executive functions, the parts of the brain that govern decision-making, attention, and self-control. Overnight, your brain washes away metabolic waste, prunes irrelevant synapses, and recalibrates neurotransmitters. Some neurons die quietly, others form new alliances. Your ability to focus tomorrow morning is partially determined by how efficiently this invisible overhaul went. Every morning is a soft reboot of cognition, like opening a freshly restarted computer that is slightly faster, slightly slower, slightly different than the day before. And yes, this reset is why habits, moods, and creativity can fluctuate wildly. Yesterday, you struggled to write a paragraph. Today, ideas flow as if someone replaced your internal processor overnight. This is no magic trick. It's chemistry, biology, and tiny neural micro-adjustments at work. You wake up as a slightly altered machine, equipped with a new configuration that you don't consciously remember installing. Think about identity in this context. If your thoughts, your emotions, your neural architecture are subtly rewritten every night, who exactly is you? If last night's synapses have been pruned or rewired, and last night's memories slightly altered, the you who wakes is already a new entity. You carry your name, your face, your story, but beneath the surface the machinery is new, humming a slightly different tune. Even your sense of familiarity, the illusion that your mind is continuous, relies on this nightly reset going unnoticed. If your brain didn't erase or rewire, memories would pile up chaotically. You'd be a hoarder of experiences, drowning in irrelevant connections. Sleep is the brain's subtle, invisible editor, trimming excess, smoothing rough edges, making sure tomorrow you wake up functional, coherent, just familiar enough to survive. So, when you wake groggy, when your thoughts feel a bit off, when your emotional baseline seems slightly shifted, it's not a defect, it's a signature of transformation. You are not malfunctioning. You are the result of a nightly rewrite. Your identity is fluid, constantly recompiled, a dynamic program running in the background you barely understand. Every time you wake, you inherit a freshly optimized version of yourself, a self subtly different from the one who went to bed. And that, in its own eerie way, is liberating. If every day you are slightly new, the possibilities are endless. You can change, adapt, rewrite your story, because the brain itself is doing it nightly, without asking permission. Sleep isn't just rest, it's metamorphosis. And when you open your eyes in the morning, you step into the world, not as a fixed self, but as a new version, carrying yesterday's remnants, but nothing else. You are reborn. You fall asleep thinking the day is done, that your mind will finally rest. Cute idea, but the truth is far more mischievous. While you sleep, your brain becomes a secret author, rewriting not just memory, but reality itself. Dreams are not random fireworks of nonsense. They are the subconscious editorial board, meticulously rearranging your internal world. deciding what counts, what doesn't, and how it should feel. By the time you wake, the script of your life has subtly shifted, your emotional narrative re-edited without your permission. Consider this: in dreams, time and space are plastic. Your childhood home can merge with your office, your best friend may morph into a stranger, and physics often takes a vacation, and you accept it. You inhabit this distorted reality without question, as if the absurd were natural. That's because your brain is practicing reality manipulation, rehearsing scenarios, and integrating emotions in ways waking consciousness could never tolerate. Dreams are laboratories where identity experiments are conducted, where emotional truths are tested, and sometimes where tiny parts of you die and are reborn. Emotional memory is especially vulnerable. Fear, longing, joy, regret, all these signals get recycled, reweighted, redistributed while you dream. That awkward conversation, the embarrassing mistake, the happiness you felt watching a sunset, all of it is revisited, reinterpreted, sometimes softened, sometimes amplified. The subconscious is an uninvited editor, blending past experiences with imagined possibilities, ensuring that when you wake, your emotional response to reality has shifted. You are never emotionally identical from one morning to the next, because your dreams have quietly rewritten your internal map of the world. Even the bizarre, nonsensical elements of dreams serve a function, that flying octopus or talking lamp. It's your mind forcing new connections, building associative bridges that make problem-solving, creativity, and emotional insight possible. By introducing impossible scenarios, the brain encourages flexibility, adaptation, and cognitive elasticity. In other words, your waking self benefits from these nightly hallucinations. The dreams leave fingerprints in reality, influencing decisions, feelings, and even how you perceive yourself in subtle, invisible ways. You wake with a slightly altered lens, your worldview subtly warped in ways you'll never consciously notice. Memory itself is malleable during dreams. Events you experienced yesterday, last week, or years ago are mixed with fantasies and hallucinations. Upon waking, recall is not a playback but a reconstruction. Your memories, edited overnight, are never identical to what actually happened. The person who slept is no longer the person who remembers. You are not simply refreshed, you are rewritten. The illusion of continuity survives, but beneath it, identity has shifted, nudged, morphed. Dreams also create alternate selves. In the liminal space of sleep, you try on versions of yourself that will never exist again. Brave, foolish, cruel, heroic. These ephemeral selves leave subtle imprints, shaping your moods, your thoughts, your impulses when awake. You may wake with a sudden burst of confidence, a pang of sadness, or an untraceable insight, and you never know why. It is the residue of your parallel dream life influencing the self you think is stable. In reality, the self you wake up as is a mosaic of fragments, yesterday's habits, last night's rewrites, and the ghost of dream versions that no longer exist. And yet, dreams are mercifully deceptive. They hide their editorial hand. You don't notice the subtle rewiring. You wake, yawn, scroll through your phone, and assume you are the same person. But in every neuron subtly reorganized, in every synapse slightly rewired, in every emotional response recalibrated, the truth is different. You are a new person. Your perception, your memory, your emotional landscape, everything has been remixed. Dreams are the nightly proof that identity is not fixed, that reality itself is plastic under the subconscious pen. Here's the existential punchline. You never wake up to yourself unaltered. The you who closes your eyes at night is already dissolving, already in flux. Sleep and dreams are rewriting reality, not just pausing it. And that, whether comforting or terrifying, is liberating. You are a continuous work in progress, edited while you are blissfully unconscious, emerging each morning as a slightly different protagonist in a story that only pretends to be linear. Every dream is a brushstroke on the canvas of your identity. Every night, the painting changes. By sunrise, the work is subtly, irrevocably new. Morning is more than a time on the clock. It is a chemical symphony. You may think you wake up as yourself, as the same person who fell asleep hours ago, but your body quietly laughs at that notion. While you were dreaming, your hormones staged an elaborate coup. Cortisol, melatonin, serotonin, They have been dancing, spiking, falling, surging, orchestrating a transformation so subtle you don't notice it. Yet, when your eyes flicker open, you are already a new chemical entity inhabiting familiar flesh. Cortisol rises, peaking just as the sun nudges you awake, nudging alertness into your neurons. It's your body's alarm clock, invisible but insistent, jolting you into consciousness with a whisper you didn't hear. Sleep's melatonin fades, leaving a hollow echo in your cells. Dopamine and serotonin shift, subtly tweaking your mood, your drive, your perception of pleasure. By the time you stretch or groan, your chemistry has already rewritten the software of your emotions, attention, and motivation. You are biologically altered before your first thought, before coffee, before consciousness itself catches up. This isn't dramatic theatre, it's quiet evolution in action. Your body performs a nightly recalibration so precise it borders on the absurd. Cells, enzymes, and neurotransmitters collaborate to create a chemical landscape entirely different from yesterday. Tiny shifts in hormone levels can mean that your patience is thinner, your optimism sharper, your anxiety more pronounced. And you might blame the traffic or your alarm clock, but the real culprit is microscopic, invisible, and merciless, biology rewriting you while you slept. The interplay of these hormonal shifts doesn't stop at mood. They shape memory, attention, and even perception. Cortisol primes the hippocampus for memory retrieval. Melatonin influences synaptic plasticity, and serotonin modulates emotional resilience. When you wake, the person who remembers yesterday is not chemically identical to the one who fell asleep. Your brain and body are already subtly primed for new interpretations, new reactions, new ways of being in the world. In short, you wake up altered, whether you notice it or not. Consider the irony. You assume sleep restores you, that you wake refreshed and the same. In reality, sleep transforms you, rewrites your neurochemical story, and gently ejects the old you into obsolescence. Your emotional baseline is reset, your stress thresholds rearranged, your alertness fine-tuned. Morning grogginess, often dismissed as laziness, is the lag between biological rebirth and conscious recognition. Your identity hasn't caught up to your chemistry yet. You are biologically a new person, waiting for your mind to notice. Even subtle shifts in hormones shape perception. A tiny increase in cortisol might make yesterday's minor frustrations loom larger. A hint of dopamine surge might color your coffee, your commute, or a stranger's smile with unexpected warmth. You interpret the world through a lens forged overnight, painted in neurotransmitters and hormones you cannot see, feel, or control. By the time consciousness fully awakens, you are interacting with life as a slightly rewritten self, your emotional palette subtly adjusted, your identity slightly altered. And here's the poetic cruelty of it. This shift is entirely invisible to you. You wake up, glance in the mirror, feel like the same person, yet you are not. Hormones are rewriting your identity quietly, without fanfare, without asking for permission. Your mind fills in the gaps with continuity, giving you the illusion of sameness, while your body silently insists you are new, altered, unrecognizable to the you that existed last night. Continuity survives, but the chemical truth of yourself has already shifted beneath it. The hormonal dawn is a gentle reminder of impermanence. Every morning, biology performs a quiet coup, reshaping mood, cognition, and perception. You are never chemically identical from one day to the next. Every day is a micro-rebirth, a reset of your emotional and cognitive operating system. And while the illusion of continuity keeps you from panic, the truth is liberating. You are not fixed, not static, not permanent. You are a nightly experiment in biochemical transformation, stepping into a world as a subtly new entity, slightly rewired, chemically altered, and quietly different. By sunrise, the alchemy is complete. The you who fell asleep has been replaced by a person who looks the same in the mirror but feels different internally. Your body has rewritten your emotional blueprint, sculpted your attention, and nudged your perception of reality. Every waking moment is a negotiation between who you were and who biology made you overnight. Morning is not a beginning, it is the reveal of your nightly transformation, the unveiling of a new self painted in hormones. Sleep is not just rest, sleep is a nightly brush with oblivion. Consciousness dissolves, awareness fades. The you that navigates the world, scribbles thoughts, and narrates experience vanishes, pixel by pixel, into nothingness. For hours, you are dead in microcosm, a fleeting absence, a pause in existence. And yet, when morning arrives, you awaken and pretend continuity still exists. This is the micro-death of sleep, the gentle dissolution of self that the brain disguises as rest. Every night as your eyelids close, consciousness steps off the stage, neural activity slows, connections dissolve, and awareness retreats. Your mind, the thing you trust most to define you, recedes into the background, leaving only raw electrical signals, chemical fluctuations, and dream-generated hallucinations. It is as if your entire identity enters a waiting room of non-existence. The self you consider permanent is temporarily extinguished, leaving no trace of yesterday's you except what your brain reconstructs later. In this micro-death, dreams act like phantoms. While awareness fades, the subconscious takes control, spinning narratives, testing possibilities, exploring alternate lives. The consciousness you associate with being you is absent, yet the machinery of identity continues to operate, invisible and unobserved. Your neurons fire in secret patterns, pruning, repairing, and reorganizing. Connections die, others are born. Even in the absence of awareness, the self is reshaped, reborn in subtle, undetectable ways. Sleep is a mini-apocalypse for the self, destruction and creation intertwined. Consider the existential weight of this. Every night you die slightly, not metaphorically. You literally experience a temporary absence of conscious experience. Awareness is gone, memory is offline, time is irrelevant, and when you awaken, continuity lies only in narrative. In the stitched-together story the brain tells you, you are the same. Nothing has changed, but everything has changed. Micro-death is survival disguised as routine. You step back into life with the faintest echo of what you were, but that you no longer exists. Micro-death also explains the strangeness of waking. That's your mind reconciling micro-death. Your consciousness is booting up, reconnecting to neurons slightly altered, memories slightly rewritten, emotional baselines subtly shifted. You wake not to continuity, but to a rebooted version of yourself, fresh from the invisible forge of sleep. Identity lag. Your brain edits, erases, and rewires while you're gone, and the familiar self is merely a reconstruction upon re-entry. Even deeper, sleep demonstrates that selfhood is not permanent. Micro-death proves that identity is a process, not an object. You cannot hold on to you like a physical thing. Every evening, the self dissolves and is reassembled like a sculpture melted down and recast. Tiny fragments are lost, others reconfigured. The illusion of permanence is a convenience, a cognitive cheat, because facing the daily annihilation of self without narrative glue would be unbearable. Yet, sleep does not spare you. It insists on transformation. You wake alive, but subtly different, already rewritten by the micro-deaths you undergo every night. And here's the poetic cruelty. We live our days pretending we are eternal. We make plans, assign meaning, claim continuity, and believe in permanence. Yet each morning proves the opposite. Each sunrise is a resurrection, each awakening a second chance, each day a negotiation with a self that never remains identical to itself. It shows that identity is fluid, that life is provisional, and that each morning offers a slightly new protagonist in the story of existence. You are a series of resurrections, an endless cycle of small deaths and rebirths. Sleep, in this sense, is both ending and beginning. It is oblivion tempered by creation. The micro-death is the necessary condition for renewal. Without it, continuity would be suffocating, identity rigid, life predictable. With it, you awaken transformed, chemically, neurologically, emotionally, and existentially altered. You rise, unaware of the nightly demolition, carrying only the illusion of sameness. And that is the secret of human existence. We die a little each night, yet we live, persist, and believe ourselves unbroken.